Welcome to the Rankings Podcast, where we feature top founders, entrepreneurs, and elite personal injury attorneys and share their inspiring stories. Now, let's get started with the show.
Chris Stryer here, CEO and founder of Rankings.io, where we help elite personal injury attorneys dominate first-page rankings. You're listening to the Rankings Podcast, where I feature top business owners, entrepreneurs, and elite personal injury attorneys. Speaking of elite personal injury attorneys, I have Matt Dolman on the show today. Matt is the president and managing partner of Dolman Law Group Accident Injury Lawyers. Their firm serves personal injury clients throughout the entire state of Florida with no fewer than 13 office locations. Matt is a veteran in the courtroom, having taken on hundreds of personal injury, wrongful death, and medical malpractice cases. He has received millions of dollars in settlements and verdicts for his clients, earning his lifetime memberships in both the $1 million and multi-million dollar advocates forums, as well as countless other legal awards. Matt, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, I'm excited to speak with you. It's always a good time. So let's kick things off. So how did you get started? Where did the idea come from to create Dolman Law Group?
So it was around 2009. I was working for a board certified civil trial lawyer where I was learning how to try cases and take cases to jury verdict. I graduated law school in 2003. So working for a mentor, Mike Walker. And I always had the idea that I was going to open up my own show, but I wanted to be mentored by the right lawyer. And I felt at that point that I had enough contacts in the community. I'd been marketing myself for quite a while, doing public speeches, meeting with specific groups that I felt like I could open up my own show, and at least have enough clients to work with. I wasn't going to be a busy practice, but I'd be a boutique practice. And because I was trying cases, you could be the world's worst trial lawyer. If you're taking cases to verdict, you're better than 99.9% of lawyers out there who do not try cases. So, and I don't think I'm the world's worst trial lawyer. So my point is that immediately puts you put you ahead of other guys. And I was depending on other lawyers in the community to refer me cases back then to take to trial and litigate.
Yeah, that makes sense. And also if the insurance company sees the firm they're going against, it never takes them to trial, they'll probably lowball them every time.
Every single time. And at that point, I didn't have a reputation. I was known as, I had a little bit of a reputation with defense counsel. I had been working as an understudy with another lawyer, and I'd actually first chaired some cases over there, but I had yet to have my own firm. So I didn't have a tax ID number that, when the insurance adjuster puts that in, it shows a track record of a history of settlements and verdicts. So I knew that, the onus was on me to take these cases and litigate them aggressively and build my own reputation in my own firm.
Awesome. So what were the early days of the firm like, launching your own shop?
I was I wouldn't call myself a jack of all trades, master of nothing, but I was a jack of all trades in the office. I was doing every single task. In the beginning, I was doing some of my own paralegal work. I had 2 staff members, one individual answering the phones, doing a lot of the rudimentary tasks around the office, ordering supplies, lunch, taking care of making sure everything was there that we needed. And one other staff member that was helping me with all my files. There's so many files that I also was, I had to get in the trenches, and I still am always in the trenches, but putting the files together, inputting the data actually in the computer. I was doing data entry back then, along with having to litigate my files. So a lot of long days. And as the firm grew and got bigger, I was able to afford more staff. But, the old saying is keep it small, keep it all. Just never wanted to grow too big, too fast. And looking back, I wish I kept it a little bit smaller, but I'm very happy with where we are at today. And I'm able to focus on, litigating cases, able to focus on the biggest cases in the office. I have a number of lawyers here, one of whom is also board certified civil trial law, another lawyer who's about to be board certified, and a group of just really good, talented litigation attorneys. And we all work together very well, but it's grown quite a bit. It's a lot different than the early days.
Yeah, I was going to say,
early days were a bit more archaic, because you didn't know what was going to happen the next day, who was going to be there. If one person was out, you were stuck doing every last thing in the office.
Yeah, I was going to say, instead of keep it small, keep it all, make it big, take it all, something like that.
Yeah, not really. The bigger you get, actually, sometimes the less money you make, because everyone gets paid before you do.
Yeah, so what was one of those, was there a particular turning point? Was it a big case, you got a nice settlement, and that helped with the cash flow, or was it a very strong hire? What kind of took it to that next level?
Well, there's one specific moment because you asked me that question. I thought about that for a while. I think it was a period of time by around 2013, 14. We'd grown quite a bit, and we'd had a number of big results of insurance carriers, and we were starting to build a much bigger reputation. And I was noticing I was getting more higher value cases referred to me by other lawyers. Because the biggest cases are often referred to you not just through SEO and search engine, which we've done a great job. We're going to get to in a few minutes, but it's also referrals from other lawyers in the community. And we were starting to see more of those. And I was working on bigger margins, and that's basically when the firm started to take off.
Yeah, that's awesome. So let's flip it on the other side. So,
Sure.
Few successful business owners get to where they are without making, some mistakes. Were there any mistakes that come to mind which turned out to be a good learning experience?
Oh, plenty. You shouldn't make hiring decisions until you're busting at the seams and you can't get the job done. Sometimes we put the cart in front of the horse and we brought on individuals before we really needed to. That's probably the biggest mistake that we made in the past. There's mistakes in terms of the workup of cases and how we litigated. I never ended up in like a disastrous result. You're going to have $0 verdicts. If you try enough cases, you're going to lose. Just like you get enough fights, you're going to lose some fights. The person who says they never lost a fist fight hasn't been in many, and the individual who's never lost in court hasn't tried many cases. And especially where we are, it's a tough climate. We're in a very conservative jurisdiction on the west coast of Florida, where the East Coast, Palm Beach, Broward-Dade County is a lot more liberal. We do litigate down there as well. And now that I have a second sister firm, we can talk about that as well. We're active down there, but this is a tough area. I've learned a lot from all the battles. I've learned from every mistake that I've made. Although it never ended up in disastrous results in the courtroom per se. We lost this case, going to lose the case. But I've certainly learned how to try cases in a more effective manner. We've learned how to litigate cases in a more cost-effective manner. You learn who the best experts are by trial and error.
Yeah, I love that. Continuous improvement. You got to make mistakes. The person that's not making mistakes isn't doing anything.
Yes.
That they're just ruminating. So let's talk about the good. What's a proud moment that stands out for you? It could be recent, in the past, something that just really stands out.
Well, proud moment is us working together. I started digging into my website back in 2009. So, and you can obviously tell the audience this yourself. There's not many lawyers who are probably more astute about search engine optimization. It's my hobby, where it's your life. And it has become my life because it is, it's a red bone of our practice, if you will. I think by around 16, 17, when we became one of the top 5 personal injury law firms in the country in terms of search volume, and now we're the second most searched firm in the country besides Morgan & Morgan, and apples to apples, we beat them for the most part. And most of the key terms I care about, they just do a lot more mass tort projects. And also business litigation that we don't do. So they have a much greater array of keywords and terms they can rank for. But overall, what we care about, we're now really the most traveled personal injury law firm in the country. So I guess around 15, 16, 17, when that really started to happen, I was able to laugh at some of my friends who laughed at me back in the day when they said, "Matt, you're wasting your time with the internet. You're spending so much time. I can't believe you're doing all of this. You're putting a lot of your eggs in one basket," which I wouldn't say it's putting in one basket anyway, but we have a diverse marketing approach. But yes, SEO is the biggest part of it. We don't call it SEO anymore. I call it SEM, search engine marketing, and just digital marketing overall, your team and how we work together. And it's been a symbiotic relationship.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And guys, our audience, so Matt is a client of ours. I just want to mention though that, he's receiving no consideration for his answers. These are 100% his own. Having said that, just what Matt mentioned, I thought the audience we would be doing a disservice if we didn't talk about SEO just because of how well you're doing. You receive an absolute ton amount of organic traffic. And those of you that look at Ahrefs and SEMrush, we're talking 2 million Ahrefs traffic value. It's just an astronomical number. And that number is the equivalent of what you'd have to pay on a monthly basis to receive the same amount of organic traffic for pay-per-click. So
SEMrush has us at 13 million this morning. So, I'm not being paid to be here. I'm not giving my opinion. Is Chris the only guy in the country that does this? No. Are there several elite guys? Yeah, but do I put Chris in my top 5? Easily. Chris is phenomenal at what he does. Listen, at the end of the day, content is king. We talked about that over and over again, and the proof's in the pudding. I realized early on that I can't compete with the big boys, at least then I couldn't, on TV and radio, and still I couldn't go head-to-head with Morgan & Morgan in terms of television ad buys. But what I could compete with them on is Google. And you can't really, unless you're paying for tons of pay-per-click, which, by the way, more eyeballs go to organic than they do to pay-per-click. But they work symbiotically sometimes. and I can get to that in a minute, but you can't really buy your way into Google. Either it's a game plan you have to follow. It's a marathon, not a sprint. And we're there, and you can compete with the biggest of the biggest on Google. It's an even playing field, really. I even taught some of the stuff that I do to others, and some of the stuff that we do together. And you can only lead the horse to water. You can't force him to drink it, so to speak. And everyone's looking for that quick fix. Quick fix may be pay-per-click, and even that doesn't work that well. Really, it's SEO. If you're willing to see it through and work on your content, and let Chris and his team help you with building out the links, building out the content, because they do a great job with that as well. Building up the site, you really, within a year and a half, you could really be a force to be reckoned with. It's much cheaper than television, radio, billboards, or any other advertising medium you can think of, because you can do it on a very small scale at $10,000, $15,000 a month, where a TV ad buy is going to cost you $30,000 to $50,000 a month. You really want to play with the big boys, probably more than that. Same with radio. And billboards are like $3,000 a pop, and that's more of a shotgun advertising that you're hoping that the individual goes by your billboard needs you at that very time, because otherwise it's just branding. SEO is both branding, and it really does generate leads right then and there if you're ranking for key terms.
Yeah. First, thanks for the kind words. And second, it's not an overnight success. I mean, SEO is a marathon, and it has this momentum effect though. Once you start to get more traffic and visibility, you start to acquire those links naturally. So just real quick hitter, let's just pick three things really quick. What's your main recommendation when it comes to content?
Look at what everyone else, look at the top pages that are ranking, and how can I do it better? I mean, that's the first thing I look at. There's so many fluff pieces on the internet, fluff practice pages, fluff blogs. If you really do a diligent job and do a deep dive into specific practice areas and build out what we call content silos. So, your practice page, and then have a lot of subtopics under that practice page. So for instance, you have a car accident practice page, then you have pages about Uber and Lyft. So rideshare cases, and then texting and driving and the dangers of so on and so forth. What is uninsured motorist coverage? What does it mean to have full insurance coverage? Who is paying for my medical bills after a car accident? If I don't have health insurance, what do I do? What is a letter of protection, which is not in every state, but is germane to Florida and several others? What is personal injury protection? I mean, these are all subtopics that link back to your practice page. And if you're willing to put the time into the blogs and make sure they have to be in depth. I mean, they have to be over 1,000 words. I like mine to be over 1,500 words for the most part. Now, we don't always follow that rule, but we do as much as possible. And if you really put the time into the content, and instead of just putting out a fluff piece, and really work hard and make sure you're externally linking out to other really good pages, Google will start to look at you. I mean, they use artificial intelligence and see that you are a resource page, that you have really good information, and then you'll start to rank. I mean, and the content all helps one another. It's very, again, symbiotic. I hate to keep using that word, but the common word today, Sesame Street's word of the day, is symbiotic. It's all symbiotic. You'll start developing natural links. The pages all support one another, and your practice pages will start to rank, but also your individual blog pages will rank. I mean, we have one blog page that went to hire a car accident lawyer that ranks in the top 5 for at least 100 keywords nationally, like car accident lawyer, car accident attorney, accident lawyer, accident attorney. I mean, different permutations of that word. So that can be done through your blogs itself.
Awesome.
Plus,
that's it.
When you blog often, I mean, it's the freshness factor. That's also, Google looks at websites as to how often, and we go over this every day, Chris and I, and this is my life, and I don't expect most lawyers to care this much, but hopefully you will care a lot because this is your marketing. It's the more often you're updating your website, the more often it's going to get crawled by Google. You're actually training Google to crawl your site more often. And that works favorably for so many different reasons. I can't stress to you enough how often you should be putting content out there and educating the clients. And the content piece should not be about you. It should not be about, my qualifications, how long I've been practicing law, recent verdicts. I mean, that's nice to add to your site, and that's great. But how do I help you as the consumer? How do I help answer the questions that you have? How do I help solve the problems you're probably worried about? Who's going to pay my medical bills? What do I walk away with? What does it mean to have a contingency fee contract? How's that level the playing field so that I can hire the best lawyers and not have to worry about coming out of pocket for that? I mean, you need to answer these questions, and that's a really good website is when you're answering the consumer's questions.
I think if there was any segment that our audience could listen to, it would be that one on content. because text content's going to attract the links. It's going to give you the opportunity to rank. The other thing that I want to mention too
But the big mistake a lot of people make is they just keep throwing out content. It's like throwing up,
right,
throwing over the wall, and it's fluff pieces. It's very soft pieces, and they wonder 6 months later, well, how come my SEO guy can't get me to rank? Well, it's not just your SEO guy, and often it is. By the way, that whole industry is full of charlatans, and I can get to that in a second. But most guys are absolutely just worthless. And you're paying these guys money. Some of them are even practicing lawyers in other areas of the country. I won't mention names, but you can dig for yourself. And they hold themselves out as SEO experts because anyone can call themselves that, and they just take your money and they don't do anything with it. Content really is king. They wonder why they're not ranking. Well, it's because you're putting up a bunch of fluff pieces and they're not really answering anyone's questions. And you can't just write for the search engine. You have to also write for the consumer. If you write naturally for the consumer, it will rank. Write for the consumer. Don't worry about writing for the search engine. Your SEO specialist, whether it's Chris or one of the other 3 or 4 guys in the country that are top flight, they're going to help you build the links. They're going to help with the title tags. They're going to help with the H1, H2 headers, which is, I know I'm getting really into the weeds now, and this is things that most people should learn what that is. But that's what Chris's team is there to do and optimize the page. Write good content. Try to answer the question in depth and answer as thoroughly as possible.
Yeah, you got to answer consumer intent. That's what Google's trying to do. Google's trying to serve the user the best query to answer their intent. So if you have a long, thorough article that covers that query in depth in a different manner of ways, then you have the best opportunity to rank. If you just cover maybe one part of it, they're going to go to a different page to get their answer.
Yeah, most people are window shopping.
Yep. And the other thing is, those signals, well, what can Google do? Google can't look at the smile on a consumer's face. They can't see the emotion. They can't understand if they're happy. But what they can do is measure the amount of time that a consumer stayed on the page, which is if they were engaged and they read it, looking at average time on site and those types of metrics. So
the on-site metrics are everything. So what you're going to see is most consumers are not going to stay on your page long. I mean, they're shopping, but if you're doing enough content and you're answering very specific questions rather than constantly saying Clearwater personal injury lawyer, Clearwater Boston personal injury law, Boston accident lawyer. If you're getting into the weeds and actually answering questions about what PIP coverage is, how does it affect me, what insurance companies are paying favorably in this specific geographic region, which are the worst. These are questions consumers are asking on a regular basis, and you're going to get 5 or 10 people a day who are going to stay on that page for 6-7 minutes, which is going to improve your on-site metrics, which is all Google cares about is returning the best result for the search query. Right? So they want to return the best result. That's what they use artificial intelligence for. And how they show that? Well, does a person bounce off your page during the first 3 to 5 seconds? That's your bounce rate. The longer they stay in your page, these on-site metrics show Google that is a page that's actually answering the person's questions because they're staying on that page for an extended period of time. Be thorough because you're going to get several people a day who are going to read the entire article, and that's what's going to lead to your stats going up. That's going to increase your rankings, but also you're going to get what's called long tail search terms. There are terms that are just germane to that blog itself, such as answering those questions we just discussed. And those are the individuals who are more likely to convert. Those are the people who are more likely to actually select you. Otherwise, you're just trying to rank number one. So we do for terms like Clearwater personal injury lawyer. Those don't convert really that much, though. It looks nice. It feeds the ego. But those individuals are more likely to do much more window shopping. They're not actually going to your site to answer a specific question. They're just going to look at your site real quick and look at 7 others and select whoever they want to select. And you do have a chance of converting those. It is important to rank for those terms. Far more important to long tails. Those are going to convert. And we see it, proofs in the pudding, based on what we're converting every single month.
Yeah,
I'm not just saying anecdotally. I'm not just saying you're bullshitting you and telling you, hey, this might work. Academia, these are theories that, you read these search engine pages is what you should be doing. I'm telling you, this has worked. And I can show you, example over and over again of what has worked for us. I'm happy to talk to anybody about what we've done.
Yeah, and I couldn't agree more, Matt. And I just want to mention, too, that when you create this middle funnel content that answers consumers' questions, you're going to get inbound links. It's much more difficult to get inbound links to your practice area pages because, guys, they're sales pages. Nobody wants to link to a sales page. They want to link to an article that provides information and is helpful and statistics and things like that. So just wanted to make that. Which also
makes your link profile look a lot more natural as well.
Absolutely. Matt, I think
what other guys are doing out there is they're paying for spots with specific authors or specific articles, and that can help you a little bit. It certainly helps your domain rating. It makes it look stronger. But really the best links are the ones that are deep-seated inside your website to specific pages that are likely to convert. The ones that are likely to convert, not your practice pages, they're your actual blogs. They're the ones answering the questions. Because everybody has a practice page that talks about, well, car accident lawyer and is what I do, and car accident keys are not all the same, and car accident lawyers are not all the same. It's the same crap in every single page. It's all really is your blogs that answer the questions.
I agree 100%. And guys, if your content passes a copyscape test and it's 100% unique, that doesn't mean it's unique in terms of Google's eyes. Maybe it passes a plagiarism test. But Google it's going to filter out all this content that's sourced from the same location. So you have to get creative and think about how you're going to create a piece of content that's different, that's not already on the web. And that's, take a look at some of the content on Matt's site. And that's why they're performing so well, is because they're structured differently than everybody else's articles and how they're written. Matt, I think that's like a master class, this little segment right here in SEO on its own.
I can expand. We should do that one day and just talk for an hour. I mean, they can go into a lot more detail on case examples on the site. And if we could do a screen share, I could take individuals through what is worked on the site and what hasn't worked. And a lot of what hasn't worked was before we hired you. I mean, we were writing a lot of fluff pieces. It's a lot of crap. I mean, you got to also, another thing Chris's team worked on is trimming out the fat. We got rid of, when I'm speaking fast, we got rid of a lot of pages that were low performing. That really weren't doing much for us, because eventually, after a while, you'll start to realize how many times can I discuss texting and driving. So we have to eliminate and consolidate some of those blogs into one and get rid of the low-performing ones. And what we often do, Chris and I, is go back through the old blogs that are actually performing, but not ranking in the top 5 or 10 for keywords or a portfolio of key terms. Never get hung up on any keyword. So it's a portfolio of key terms. And then we go back and how do we make that page much better? So then now we can all of a sudden, it's a lot easier to take a page that already works, but now doesn't work great or it's not elite, and make it to a elite page. Because it's already working. You already have links built to that page. It's clearly getting eyeballs. There's visitors to it. It has on-site metrics, but it's not in the top 5 for a specific search term or portfolio terms. Now we improve that page, add more content to it. Now Google's going to crawl it again. Now it's the freshness factor. It's getting updated regularly. You want to take your top pages and update them regularly.
Yeah, so that's what I was going to say. I think that's where many attorneys go wrong, is they'll create their car accident lawyer page and they're like, oh, I'm done. I'm going to go write this other article that gets 10 searches a month and I'm never going to go back to that practice area page. Wait, you're not done. You need to constantly improve it because, hey, your competitor is going to make changes. They're going to make their page better. And you need to get it recrawled. So all those things help. It's just...
Yeah, and if you start ranking, everybody else is focusing on your page and how can they outrank you. So you constantly have to change your page up. But more importantly, the other issue, it's not that you're missing, there's only so much time, but everybody wants to spit out more content and fluff pieces too. But it's great to spit out more content. If you hire Chris or somebody else, you're going to have them help you with content. That's important to keep putting out content. I can't stress that enough. But at the same point, you want to go back to the content that's already working. That's where everyone misses. You keep putting out more content. Go back to the ones that are already working or showing up anywhere and make them better. Because it's hard enough to get them to rank. If they're already ranking, that's half the battle. Now let's make that page better. What are the top 5, 10 sites doing that I'm not doing? Where are they getting links from that I'm not getting links from? That's what Chris' team will do for you. But what content, what questions are they answering that I'm not answering? What are the common variables between the top 5, 10 sites that I don't have? And you can use analytic devices like SEMrush or Ahrefs, and I can walk anyone through that. And obviously Chris can walk you through it a lot better than I can and show you how to use those pages.
Yeah, you got to upgrade.
That's how I hold Chris accountable. It's how I see what he does because I can look at it and proofs in the, if I can show my screen, I mean, proofs in the pudding, I can show you what I rank for. It's there are at least 100 pages on my site that have at least a value of $5,000 in Ahrefs, which means I'm ranking for a ton of terms.
It's incredible.
4 pages right now that exceed $150,000 in value. I mean, it is incredible.
Yeah, it definitely is.
And SEMrush, we have 4 pages that exceed $1 million. It's crazy.
Yeah, and it's from constant continuous improvement, upgrades, all those things that we talked about.
Yeah.
Matt, let's shift to personal development. What are, to come to be where you're at now?
Thanks for taking me out of my comfort zone, by the way. I'm comfortable talking about SEO. Now you want to talk about me.
Yeah. What about, are there any mentors or coaches that come to mind that help develop your progress? You talked about, working for the firm when you started and kind of.
Yeah, Mike Walker was a good mentor, but more in terms of now my skills. I have a lawyer in my office who's board certified civil trial lawyer named Dave Nizer, and he runs litigation at this firm. And He is, I wouldn't call him a mentor per se, but we work together on a lot of cases, and I certainly learn a lot from him. He's incredible at his craft. He's always trying to improve, which motivates me. That a guy who's in his mid-50s, who's tried over 100 cases to verdict, is still trying to improve his craft. It's not just set in his ways. In terms of marketing, I mean, I look up to you. And not just you. I mean, I read every single blog I can read in the search engine world.
Yeah, let's talk about that. What are some of the SEO blogs? What are some
I look at Moz. I read Moz regularly, so I look at their Whiteboard Fridays. I go on. I look at some of the content SEMrush puts out. They're putting out a little bit of content now. Ahrefs also puts out a little bit of content here and there. Same with Agency Analytics. But I look at Search Engine World pretty much every day. And then I'll also go on to like Twitter, and I'll look at what are the articles that are trending on, if you put in search engine or SEO or search engine marketing, and I'll take a look if there's anything new. And then Chris knows this full well, because then I'll throw him an email halfway through the day, because I'm king of non sequiturs, and I'll just start bringing up some issue without any transition or, introduction. And he'll know that I looked at something, because why am I bringing up this question? And yeah, so I try to stay on what are the current trends, what's working, what's not, what are the latest updates at Google Local, what's going on with Google My Business. Is there anything I need to start focusing on? Are there issues that are being flagged? What are we doing about spam? I mean, spam is like the biggest issue with Google Local, all these fake websites or lawyer referral services who are not real law firms but are jamming up to Google Local listings, and just different issues that keep popping up on a regular basis. They're germinating into SEO.
That's great. I mean, those are a ton of great resources, guys. If you want to learn SEO, I would start at Moz. It's got a great beginner's guide to SEO. You can start there.
That beginner's guide's phenomenal. And it's even like for guys who are more advanced, you can go back there and some of the fundamentals or questions you have. It's really like a thesaurus and dictionary for SEO.
Absolutely.
Anything you have a question about. Sometimes I go back there and look at some of the stuff I never forgot about.
Guys, and we'll link those up in the show notes too for you. Yeah, Matt, one final question here. Is there anything that you want to talk about that we haven't discussed?
My ears are natural. They're naturally this big. They look like a cab that left its doors open. I'm not a good-looking guy. I don't know. What do you want to talk about?
You gave me crap last week on my COVID hair, and now I'm wearing a hat, guys.
Yeah. That's why I have this short hair. It makes the ears stand out more.
Guys, we've been talking to Matt Dolman, elite personal injury attorney at Dolman Law Group. Matt, where can people go to learn more?
Elite. I appreciate that. I don't know if I call myself, I'm very good at what I do. Elite. Thank you. They can go to www.dolmanlaw.com.
Thanks, Matt.
Always pleasure. Thank you very much, Chris. And really, I do mean this. I'm not getting paid for this. This isn't an endorsement for Chris. I don't care what Chris thinks. I love him. I mean, the job that Rankings.io have done for me, Chris and Steve Willie probably is a much nicer guy than Chris. Chris is a great guy, but Steve Willie is really the nicest technical guy that you'll ever have. You have a problem with the site, any issues that need to be looked at. They've just been a phenomenal team. How I knew that you guys were decent from day one was you were the only group that didn't promise me anything. Every all these charlatans will say, "Oh, I'll get you the top page," or "You're not ranking for this." You probably get those emails once a day in your inbox where it says, "Hey, John Doe, you're not ranking for," and they'll just give you whatever weird terms out there and tell you that your site's not doing anything proper, and then they'll tell you all these promises of what they're going to do for your site. That right off the bat is a charlatan. Another way to know if somebody's a charlatan is they're just making promises off the bat of what they can do for your site without actually knowing the infrastructure, without actually being able to see and have access to the back end of your website. If anybody's telling you what they can do for you without actually getting back end access to your site and just off of looking at it on Ahrefs or SEMrush, then they're full of shit. I'm sorry to curse, but that's the truth. And most SEO guys, and I can give you a list of who the top 3-4 guys are. And obviously I'm going to endorse Chris, but there's some other great guys out there. Most of the guys out there are charlatans. We have wasted money with a number of guys, and I could talk to lawyers throughout the country that have wasted money with different companies, and they spend $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 a month, and they look back 6 months from later, and we look at it, and they don't have any links pointing to their site, or they have just a couple of generic links, and it's like, what did they do with your money? Jesus. They took all this money, but you have no results.
Well, Matt, thanks for the kind words. I really appreciate it. No, I appreciate it so much. And it's just been a pleasure having you on your show.
Thank you so much. Take care now.
Thanks, Matt.
Thanks for listening to the Rankings Podcast. We'll see you again next time, and be sure to click subscribe to get future episodes.